Months since my first guest today left a sofa that he had been sitting on for 10 years, presenting the One Show. But he's no sloth. The other thing TV presenter Matt Baker has been doing for the past 10 years is the Rickshaw Challenge for the BBC's Children in Need appeal. To date, this annual charity has raised over £35 million. And you know what? He's back on his rickshaw this year again, and I'm delighted to say that Matt is on the line now. Matt, how are you? Welcome back. Welcome back. After all of that, have we lost the great Matt Baker? Are you there? Can you hear us? Oh, I can hear you now. We lost you for a moment. Welcome back, Matt Baker.
Dropping out of reception.
I think the reception is terrible.
Hello, Eleri.
Hello. Should we get back to you and sort this out? We'll get back to him. We'll play another track. We'll be back with Matt Baker after this. Question is, do we have Matt Baker? Let's try once more. I can hear him clearer this time. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm great, Eleri. It's lovely to catch up with you again. I'm sorry about that. We're using newfangled Wi-Fi calling, and for some reason the Wi-Fi dropped out on the phone.
Don't worry.
Anyway.
We've lived with this now since March. We've been broadcasting on Wi-Fi since then. Now then, Matt, you left the One Show in lockdown. You return in lockdown. It's been a difficult year for us all. But how has the last 7 months been for you?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I left the One Show to spend more time at home. And then it seems like everybody else had the same idea.
Yeah. God, but I bet you loved it.
Exactly. It's I'm very fortunate to have the rural existence that I do, and the kind of with my farm animals and all of that. So it's been perfect actually, and it's been a challenge. Obviously, Country Files continued, so we've managed to carry on with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of the same for everybody, really, isn't it? It's just finding the way forward in these very challenging times. And you just do the right thing. You keep everybody as safe as possible. And I think if you've got respect for everybody else, and then that's the key, you just do what you have to do and make sure that we can all get through this together.
Well, I thought, having left the One Show, it would mean that you would have parked the rickshaw far, far away from home. But what made you decide to continue to take on this mammoth challenge?
Well, I mean, the thing is, Eleri, I've got 2 rickshaws in my barn at home, and it's a big part of my life, this thing. And
do you really? Do you really?
I do. I do. I mean, we're on Rickshaw Mark III. This one's a McLaren, so I don't have a McLaren parked at home, but I do have a scaffolding rig, which was the one that I went on that very first year, and then Mark II. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, well, just actually going back to that very first year, it's now 10 years since then, and I would never have imagined when I set off on that rickshaw what this has become. And people came out in, droves along the roadside to support me, and in that second year, I thought, you know what, this isn't just about celebrities on the TV doing stuff. This is about the young people that have benefited in the past. And so I had this crazy idea of creating Team Rickshaw, which is what the nation now know and love. And there's been 45 youngsters in all that have taken part. We've ridden over 4,300 miles across the UK. And, it's something that's very close to my heart. It's something that I've watched evolve and develop. And Children in Need is something that is also a very big part of the time that I spend away from camera. I'm on the board of trustees there and sat alongside Terry Wogan in his final years there, and it's something that I never want to stop doing, and when you see the difference that it has, and not just for those youngsters that are riding the actual rickshaw itself, but when you see what good that money can do. And I know you mentioned in your introduction it's raised over £35 million, and it's remarkable, really. So if you can give people a reason to donate and something to donate towards, then I'm happy to keep going, really. So that's I suppose why I keep doing it.
Well, keep on doing doing it as long as you can, of course. But we'll talk about the team that are going to be joining you shortly. But this year, you're at the Goodwood Estate, and that's where you're joining us today, which is usually home to fast cars and the Festival of Speed, of course. So tell us how the challenge will work this year.
Yeah, so quite a few months back, we realised that this was going to be very, very difficult anyway if we wanted to kind of navigate through the UK, and it wasn't really sending out the right message at all. And so we started having chats with various different places about creating what would be very much a locked down kind of rickshaw challenge. And that's not just because of obviously the youngsters that we're using are children in need. And so some may potentially be vulnerable or whatever. But what we've basically done is we've chosen a team that hopefully will not be in that vulnerable category. We've got Owen, we've got Jim, we've got Lauren, Lewis, Rosie and Sarah, all who are totally brilliant. And we've all congregated here at the Goodwood estate. And basically the Duke has been absolutely superb. And we've effectively locked down the whole estate. We've got the use of the motor track. We've got the use of the estate itself. And we've worked out different routes and what have you. Just got back actually from doing the final planning on the actual routes that we're going to be taking around here. And we can kind of make up the miles of 332 miles, which is as the crow flies distance from that very first year that I did from Edinburgh down to London. And so we're basically just going to use the estate. We've got the whole hotel to ourselves. We've all started the testing process a couple of days ago for our COVID tests and what have you. There'll be a second round of testing on Saturday. And then when we're all clear with that, then we'll set off basically going loopy around Goodwood Estate.
So we are talking, it's not all tarmac, of course. You're going to be doing or covering variety of terrains as well to reach your target. Honestly, every
Eleri,
day.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. This is not a walk in the park or a cycle through a park by any means. It's an undulating landscape down here. If anybody knows Goodwood, it's famous for the hill climb. It's actually sort of nestled in a valley here. So it's very up and down, and it's by no means going to be an easy feat. And when you're up actually on the racetrack, you think, oh, well, it's going to be flat and this, that, and the wind is incredible actually up there. It's very exposed. And when you've got a rickshaw like we have, which kind of acts a little bit like a brick wall at times, and if you're going into a headwind, it's really challenging. But like we say, we've got different options depending on which riders are up that at that part of the day, so we can choose the landscape accordingly. But it's hilly around here. It really is.
Well, you've got Ewan from Belfast, you've got Jim from Derbyshire, you've got Lauren from Aberdeen, you've got Lewis from Coventry, Rosie then from Ruislip, and Sarah from Hillingdon. So, that's right. You know when you bring the team together, what are they like at the beginning? Are they all a bit nervous of meeting
I'll be honest
each other?
with you, the selection process is like the hardest and most difficult time you could ever want to, visit. And it's really difficult. There's a small group of us that actually decide on the final few, or the final 6 as it is for this year. But that selection process is really, really, I don't know, it's just so heartfelt because all these youngsters turn up and they've all been through incredible challenges in their lives and what have you. And then to kind of compile a team from exceptional youngsters anyway is really tough. But we think we've got an absolute winning team here. They're all incredibly excited. Obviously, it's going to be very, very different this year because for me, what I love more than anything is to watch them grow in confidence as they cycle past thousands and thousands of people that are chanting their name, throwing money at them and what have you. And it's a really uplifting experience for me and certainly for them to experience that. And this year is going to be different because there's no public at all allowed into Goodwood Estate while we're here. So we're hoping that this year people will get involved sort of from a social media perspective and show their support that way. So obviously through the One Show social media, through Children in Need social media, my Instagram as well. I mean, I'm going to be broadcasting live on that and doing all the behind the scenes stuff as well. And any comments or messages that you want to send me, I will pass on. You've got my word on that. But they're a brilliant team of youngsters. And it's a bit difficult at the moment until we've been through that second round of testing because everybody's still being socially distanced. But there's a wonderful team spirit and that camaraderie that comes from benefiting from the goodness of others, really, and they know what it's like to receive those donations. They know what those projects mean, and I think they're just so thankful and so grateful, as I am, that this challenge can happen this year.
Yes, they all, of course, have been supported by Children in Need funded projects, but it's been a really difficult year, and this year is going to be pretty poignant for you, I'm sure, Matt, because 2 former Team Rickshaw members have passed away.
That's
How
right,
devastating is that? Tell us a little bit about Amy and Adelle.
Yeah, so Amy, basically her brother Ben was riding with her in mind because Ben was her young carer. So he spent 24/7 and his childhood was taken up in caring for Amy. She had a disorder that meant that she grew old before her years. And earlier in the year, we lost Amy. So Ben was doing his very best to raise awareness for all those children that dedicate their lives to looking after siblings. With great sadness, we lost Amy. And then Adele, who was actually riding last year, she had leukemia, and it was such a tragic story with Adele that basically she lost her best friend to the same leukemia a few years before she found out that she had it, and she'd watched her best friend die with this, and then she ended up contracting the same leukemia. She battled it incredibly well. She overcame, all of those challenges, and then she was riding in remission, from her leukemia, and wore her heart on her sleeve and absolutely celebrated the fact that she'd done what she'd achieved in her life. And then a few months after the Rickshaw Challenge finished last year, she found out that it had come back. She went through the same treatment again. I spoke to her numerous times, and she lost that fight. But they're both remembered this year through a little butterfly that we've got on the emblem of the Rickshaw Challenge. So if you see two butterflies flittering around the Rickshaw Challenge emblem this year, you'll know what they are. So that's in the memory of Adele and Amy.
Oh, I'm sure their light will continue to shine, of course, on your 332-mile journey.
But it brings it home as to why we're doing this, and it's very real for these youngsters, and it's raw, and it means so much to feel that support.
Gosh, I remember watching Adele last year. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. You are utterly brilliant, Matt Baker, in what you do, and good luck with this year's challenge. And as you mentioned, of course, you can follow Team Rickshaw's progress on The One Show next week and get real-time updates from Matt by following BBC Children in Need and The One Show on Facebook, on Instagram and on Twitter. You take care, Matt.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.